Traditionally, the Kia Sportage has been overlooked in the compact crossover market. When you're comparing it to a Toyota RAV4, Honda CR-V, maybe even a Subaru Forester, those three crossovers usually won out at the end of the day. But starting last year in 2024, there was a major shift in this market. Year-over-year sales for the Kia Sportage went up 104%, making the Sportage one of the best-selling vehicles between $30,000 and $40,000. Just take a look at what this model's offering. Similar practicality and cargo space to a Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4. Also, hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and gas-powered engines. You have a vehicle that is actually quite compelling in this particular price range. But now for 2026, Kia is going one step further with some new technology, a new design, and also a vehicle that provides a lot of value in 2025 and in a very competitive and oversaturated market. In today's video, we're going to check out the 2026 Kia Sportage, see what it's offering for the small year. We're going to check out the exterior, the interior, take it out for a quick test drive, and see why, if you are looking at buying a compact crossover for you and your family, and you don't want to be like your neighbor, buying a Honda CR-V or Toyota RAV4, well, maybe taking a look at the all-new 2026 Kia Sportage might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Gervais Kia in Lowell, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the all-new 2026 Kia Sportage. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Kia inventory. So as always, let's begin with that pricing. For the 2026 Kia Sportage we have today, this is the X-Line, coming in at just under $33,000. Now, you're probably looking at the configurator and you're looking at the different trim levels saying to yourself, wait a minute, why would I go with the X-Line over an EX? Because I can go with an EX for front-wheel drive and spend around $30,000, or get that all-wheel drive system for an additional $1,800 and spend just a little bit less than the X-Line. Well, with the X-Line, it's mostly an exterior appearance package more than anything else for this vehicle, because you don't get some off-road tendencies for this model. No all-terrain tires, but you do get different terrain modes though, and also you get a vehicle that looks a bit more aggressive and maybe somewhat off-road worthy here. You have gloss black trim found throughout the exterior, which makes this model look rather cool in my opinion. Now, by going with all-wheel drive, which does come standard for the X-Line, you do get 8.3 inches of ground clearance, which is almost close to class leading. That is not too far off the Subaru Forester for 2026 at 8.7 inches. Now, if you were to go with a front-wheel drive model, that's 7.1 inches. So right then and there is a massive difference between drivetrains. And if you're someone who does take on the winter road conditions or some elements throughout the year, going with all-wheel drive makes a lot of sense for this vehicle. But the main talking point for 2026 is the restyle for the exterior and also the interior as well. Critics have claimed that with the front fascia, it wasn't contemporary, it was also controversial, and I disagree with that sentiment. A lot of compact crossovers between $30,000 and $40,000 don't look that engaging, they don't look that appealing, whereas Kia tends to be a bit more out there and creative with their design. So I had no problem with the 25 model or earlier model years for this generation. But now for 2026, we have a new style here with amber daytime running lights, which look really cool. But then also you have full LED headlights as well, a redesigned front grille, which is in gloss black. So again, you take away some of the other contrasting accents from the EX and gives you more of a lower profile and sportier model here. And you notice that for the rest of the front fascia as well, because for the lower portion of the front fascia, you're gonna have more gloss black trim. Not a lot of cladding either. So it does look rather sleek for this particular model. Now also with the LED daytime running lights and the LED headlights, this falls right in line with other vehicles in the lineup. So I understand why Kia did this. This wasn't to appease the critics, it was to allow the Kia Sportage to look more futuristic and cutting edge in this segment, which I think they've done a really good job here, because those daytime running lights do mimic the body lines of the front end for this vehicle. Then as you make your way over the side profile, the big difference here compared to the EX is that you are going to be sitting on 19-inch alloy wheels. wheels. Now, 19-inch wheels do create a bit more road noise here. I don't necessarily think the harshness of the ride quality is going to be enhanced for this model, but that is something to consider here if you are looking at buying a Sportage under $35,000 in the next few months. You're also going to have gloss black side mirror caps with turn signal indicators to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. You will have gloss black roof rails as well. Now, the roof rails are optional on the EX, so keep that in mind. And for the trim outline the windows, that's also in gloss black. So looks really nice here in my opinion. Now, you're also going to have some gloss black trim along the side profile, which gives you some contrasting accents here to the cladding that is found for this vehicle. And obviously, with it being a compact crossover, that cladding will outline the wheel arches. Then as you make your way around to the back, there is a slight facelift here for the rear fascia, but nothing too noteworthy because the taillights are going to be reshaped a bit here, but it's not something that is, night and day compared to a 2025 model. These taillights will be outlined by gloss black trim, once again, which do connect into the center portion of the tailgate. And then the Kia badge is in black here, letting you know this is the X-Line trim compared to that EX. And you see that for the rest of the badging for the rear fascia. Then for the lower portion of the rear bumper, you will have that cladding once again, which does carry over from last year, and you're going to have more gloss black trim. And then tucked beneath the bumper will be an exhaust outlet. But for a vehicle in this market and for a crossover under $40,000, I think the Kia Sportage does look quite nice for 2026, but let me know in the comment section below what you think. Taking a peek under the hood for our 2026 Kia Sportage we have today is a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine, producing 187 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. It is paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. By going with the full gas-powered engine for 2026, you also get a towing capacity of 3,500 pounds. So factor in the all-wheel drive system and ground clearance, you're getting a vehicle that is very capable here at around $33,000. Now, you can go with the hybrid or plug-in hybrid option for this model year, giving you better performance and also better efficiency. However, if you don't need those two powertrains and you want to go with the full gas-powered model for the 2026 Sportage, numbers really aren't that bad. You're looking at right on 24 miles per gallon in the city and 30 miles per gallon on the highway. So that falls right in line with many vehicles with a full gas-powered motor, and also for a crossover at around $33,000, you are receiving quite a bit here in regards to its versatility and also on-road capability. Hopping inside the Kia Sportage X-Line, you're greeted by Syntex seats for both the driver and passenger. This is a leatherette material, which is kind of great to see here at $33,000. Some manufacturers are still giving you cloth upholstery here. Now, with the Syntex seats, they provide a lot of support and bolstering, surprisingly, because for a vehicle like this, despite wearing the X-Line badge, I am not expecting a sporty experience here with these seats. All they need to offer me is enough cushioning where I'm not going to be complaining about back pain or fatigue. But there is some bolsters here which do keep you in place, makes you feel a little bit more snug being behind the wheel, which I think is a great addition here for this model. Also, better yet, the cushioning is fantastic. So if you're looking for a vehicle that is going to be comfortable and also more tech focused, you have that here with the X-Line. Now, also with the X-Line, much like with the EX, you're not going to have power adjustability on the passenger side, at least for the model we have today, whereas the driver's side does have that power adjustability. If you go with some optional packages, which we'll talk about in a minute, you can also have driver side memory, which is great to see here for a vehicle in this segment. But really though, all your eyes will be centered around what you have in front of you, including this steering wheel, which is more egg yolk shaped. Now, you are going to have a flat bottom steering wheel, flat topped, and it does feel really nice in the hands, I have to say. But more importantly is that the buttons that you see on this steering wheel are not haptic feedback. They're actual real buttons. Some manufacturers give you haptic feedback buttons even at $33,000. But for the steering wheel for the Kia Sportage, it is a bit different compared to some rivals because, of course, you are going to have the buttons that control your digital gauge cluster in front of you, also your lane centering and adaptive cruise control. But we also have a drive mode button and terrain mode button. So with the drive mode selector, you can go through normal, sport, and my drive. So you can customize the driving experience to your liking. But then terrain mode gives you snow, mud, and sand. So with this all-wheel drive system, you can take on some of those elements here, which again is something I think some of you might be looking for with Americans being so adventurous right now in the 2020s. Now at the top of the steering wheel will be the button that changes your layout here, which shows you a lot of information. Now, this display, you really can't change up the layouts too much like we have seen in some rivals. However, there's a lot of information that is at your disposal and at your fingertips, such as your fuel economy statistics, your tire pressure monitoring system, also, of course, that cruise control, and a number of other pieces of information too, such as your power distribution. So a lot to work with here, especially for a lower trim in the lineup. Now, when you do change the drive modes though, such as Sport, the gauges do change color, which is a nice touch here. But Kia did keep everything pretty simple for 2026. Now, taking a look at the infotainment system, you are going to receive wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. That is one addition here for the 2026 lineup for the Sportage that I think a lot of you have been clamoring for quite some time. Now, I will say this infotainment system is not really that in-depth at all, and it's actually very simplified. So if you're someone who's not really tech focused, don't worry about the screens here for the Sportage. I think you're going to be very acclimated with this infotainment system and digital gauge cluster relatively quickly. You will have widgets here on the home screen for your phone projection, valet mode, vehicle diagnostics, service maintenance notification, online manual, and setup. Obviously, you can scroll through your different radio settings for AM, FM, and Sirius XM. But honestly, though, this is way too simple for a vehicle at around $33,000. But the alternative 5 years ago was a very cheap-looking interior. So Kia's giving you some tech here, but it's not going to be what you're going to find on higher trims. So keep all of this in mind. But I like the fact that it is very responsive, there's no lagging, and the resolution is really good. And that doubles down for your rear backup camera. A lot of manufacturers give you cheap rear backup cameras that the resolution is kind of hard to see and it's very fuzzy, but this is actually quite clear for 2026, and you will have trajectory with that rear backup camera. Continuing on towards the center console, you will find some cutting edge tech here that I've never seen before in this market. Yes, it's touch sensitive icons, but I think what Kia is doing here is actually pretty cool. So you are going to have some dials here for your dual zone climate control, and then touch sensitive icons for your AC, front and rear defrosters, fan speed, and fan direction. But above the little fan icon is your navigation icon here, or it looks like a triangle icon. And from here, you'll have quick access icons for your home screen, your maps. When you do pair this up with your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, it sends you directly to your map system. That is really cool. Then search, seek and track, media, and setup, and then your dials turn into volume and tuning. That's actually really cool to have dual functionality here for your touch-sensitive icons. You know, I've never really seen that for a vehicle under $40,000. So some of you might actually like that. I know some of you might be a bit confused by it, so take your time when you are hopping into this model for the first time. Beneath that, you will find a wireless phone charging pad to go along with 2 USB-C inputs. And then for the center console, you will have physical buttons, a number of physical buttons, in fact, for your double heated seats up front, but then also your hill descent control, auto start stop, park assist features, auto vehicle hold, and then your camera systems as well. So that leads you to your rear backup camera if you are stationary. Then you have a traditional gear shifter here, and then your engine start stop button. Next to that will be 2 cup holders, and then another tray for some smaller items, maybe an additional smartphone or wallet. Then for the standard storage compartment, there is enough room for some smaller items. It's not super deep here, so I don't think you'll be storing any water bottles, but there is enough room for some smaller tech gadgets, and you will find a 12-volt outlet. And as we're about to round out the front seating area, above for our model, we do not have a power moonroof. However, let's talk about those optional packages for the X-Line. So for $1,500 of the X-Line premium package, you are going to have that panoramic sunroof with a power sunshade to go along with LED interior lighting and then a smart power liftgate. For $1,500, this is a must-have. This is the go-to for this trim, because not having a power liftgate kind of misses out on a lot of convenience there. So I think this is definitely a must-have. However, you can go one step further with the X-Line technology package for $2,500. This gives you a long list, and I mean a long list of features here, which some of you might actually really like, and I think provides a lot of value for this trim. So this gives you a 12.3-inch instrument display, a 12.3-inch touchscreen with onboard navigation, driver's side memory seat, LED fog lights, which again gives you some better visibility late at night or in adverse weather conditions. The 8-speaker Harman Kardon premium audio system, power folding side view mirrors, a 360-degree top view camera, blind spot view monitor, also front, rear, and side parking sensors, rear parking collision avoidance assistance, and then also highway driving assist. So if you go all out here with the X-Line, you'll have a very well-equipped model. It's just that the model we have today, I think we're missing out on some key features that makes the EX just a bit more enticing at around 33 grand. But it's great to see that Kia is offering optional packages for 2026, heightening that value for this model. Now for passengers in the second row, they're going to receive right around 41.3 inches of legroom, which that's close to being class leading if it's not, because that would be right in line with a Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, Volkswagen Tiguan, and Hyundai Tucson. On top of all of this, okay, we don't have the power moonroof here, but these seats do sit a little lower to the ground, maximizing that headroom. Tall passengers will most definitely not be hitting their head on the headliner sitting back here. Also, on top of this, these seats do recline a bit by about 10 to 15 degrees, maximizing that headroom, but also maximizing the comfort for the second row. And with the Syntex seats, they're actually quite plush and supportive, so you are going to have a lot of comfort here inside the new Kia Sportage. Now, also back here, you will have two center-mounted air vents, and there will be a USB-C input found on the sides of the front seats. That is pretty cool. Now, as we take a look at the flooring for these seats, I think you can try squeezing in a third person in the center, despite the fact you are going to have an aggressive center hump. So there is some versatility here with the Sportage thanks to its size. This is very competitive with the top models in this market. Then to round out the second row seating area, you do get a center armrest with two cup holders. Making our way around to the back one more time to take a look at the rear cargo area. By going with the X-Line and not equipping it with optional packages, you are not going to receive a power liftgate. And this right here is why I think you should go with the EX for 2026. But that's just my take here for a vehicle at around $33,000. But inside, behind the second row seat, you're looking at right around 40 cubic feet of room, which is close to being class leading in this market. That is right in line with the Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, Volkswagen Tiguan, and Hyundai Tucson. If practicality is your main focus for your next daily driver, the Kia Sportage needs to be at the top of your list of considerations here, especially if you don't want to go with a Japanese vehicle in this segment. You have a higher roofline here, and also this cargo area is very wide, so you can store a lot of items back here, probably 12, 13, 14 bags of luggage, which is fantastic to see. Now, also it's great to see here, and some vehicles don't offer this, on both sides of the cargo area, you'll have quick release levers that will conveniently lower the second row seats. And when those seats are folded, you're looking at right around 74 cubic feet of room, which falls right in line with the best vehicles in this market in regards to interior space. So if practicality is on your mind here for your next daily driver, and the technology, the exterior design, and the versatility wasn't enough for you, maybe the cargo area might just push you over the edge when you're looking at buying a vehicle in this market. Better yet, beneath the floor mat, you are going to find a spare tire. So if you encounter a flat on those road trips or travels, you can fix that and be back on the road. So far, there's a lot to be excited about for the 2026 Kia Sportage X-Line. For one, it's really not that expensive, coming in below $33,000. All-wheel drive comes standard, 8.3 inches of ground clearance, full digital gauge cluster, nice infotainment system, and leatherette seats. I mean, this is a great value, even though I do think going with the EX is the better choice for a few reasons. Power liftgate comes standard, and then also you have a more lower profile appearance, whereas with the X-Line, this is a bit more sporty and aggressive looking, but really fits the nature for this redesign for 2026. While the 19-inch wheels do create a bit more road noise, the suspension and chassis is very well refined. Everything about this vehicle is smooth and linear. You go over the bumps and imperfections, you really don't feel them. Also, with this 2.5-liter four-cylinder, yes, I think compared to the hybrid and plug-in hybrid, it seems to be underpowered, but because you don't have a CVT, there's no droning. And I don't notice a lack of horsepower or torque on the low end when we are just cruising around in the city or suburbs, and then also when we're on the highway as well, which we will be doing in a few minutes. Now, with the Sportage, this isn't necessarily a sporty crossover, because I'm currently in sport mode, and the steering is rather light. There's not a lot of feedback in the corners, but I do notice, though, that there is a lack of body roll in certain situations. So to give or take here for the Sportage, comparing it to some Japanese rivals like the Nissan Rogue, Honda CR-V that's not hybrid, you get that droning, you get a vehicle that feels lethargic and slow. With this 2.5 and the 8-speed automatic, not necessarily. It's just that when you're in the corners or on some winding back roads, there might be some more fun options out there at this price point. But I think the intangibles is what draws you back into this model. The interior space, the overall practicality, the fact that it is rather efficient. And that's what's most important for a vehicle in this segment, which is why I think the Kia Sportage has experienced such a massive growth in sales over the past 18 months. There's a lot to like here about this vehicle compared to its rivals. In regards to overall vision being behind the wheel of the 2026 Kia Sportage, nice panoramic view. The 8 pillars are somewhat aggressive and shaped a bit differently compared to most compact crossovers in this market. So you might have some blind spots here and there when you are approaching intersections or red lights. Taking a look at your side mirrors, they are decently sized. I can see what's in my blind spots and in the lane next to me. And then looking out back for a vehicle in this market, even with the headrest in the way, I can see what's directly behind me. I think more importantly, though, is the fact that we have all-wheel drive. We have that ground clearance. You do sit pretty high up in this vehicle, giving you a nice commanding feel and presence over the roadways. For interior insulation, when you are just cruising around in the city and suburbs at around 40 miles an hour, it's really not that bad. Even with the 19-inch wheels, I don't hear a lot of the outside world. It is somewhat windy today, but that's not really being picked up inside the cabin. So a nice isolating feel being behind the wheel of this vehicle. Also, of course, the technology draws so much attention here with the full digital gauge cluster and infotainment system. Now, obviously, with this being a lower trim in the lineup, no soft touch padding on the dashboard or door panels. However, the way the center console is shaped, I have a nice armrest here, and I like the fact that Kia is giving us physical buttons, which, you know, a lot of manufacturers aren't doing right now. So I love to see that everything is within arm's reach of the driver. What I also want to talk about too, once again, is this steering wheel, which is yoke-shaped. And I know some people are a bit fickle with that, where they prefer a traditional steering wheel design that's circular. But it does force you to be in a 9 and 3 positions at all times. And even though I think some people prefer 10 and 2, 9 and 3 is far more natural, and it gives you a bit more maneuverability when you are in the city. Now, placing the Sportage in normal mode, it does back off a bit in regards to the throttle response. Also, the gear shifts aren't as aggressive, but steering input is still very light. On the brakes, there is some travel on this brake pedal, but pretty standard for a vehicle in this segment. But I am really impressed here for a vehicle on the lower end in the lineup, because usually, you know, brands tend to cut corners or they're missing out on a few key features. Aside from the fact we don't have a power liftgate, I think this vehicle is very well equipped for the X-Line. Now, if you don't need a vehicle that is aggressive looking, you don't need the 8.3 inches of ground clearance, going with the EX and the front-wheel drive system is probably the better choice. But with the X-Line, you also get additional packages too. So, you know, that's something to think about and consider. And we are going to have an opportunity to accelerate onto the highway here before we turn around and head back to the dealership. Now, under heavier accelerations, there's a lot of mid-range torque and mid-range power that kicks in. I was easily able to enter the highway here. Surprisingly, no traffic, so we won't be passing slower drivers. In fact, I'm going to be passed here, so driving like a granny right now. But at highway speeds at around 75 miles an hour, road noise is not too bad here. For a daily driver, family hauler, weekday commuter, the X-Line works, especially at right around $33,000. More importantly, no droning out of this engine. It's quiet when you are just cruising on the highway, when you're off throttle. And it comes back to that suspension. It comes back to the refinement of this platform and chassis. This is really great to see in this segment. So overall, with the Kia Sportage for 2026, I understand why sales figures were up close to 104% year over year. Because At $33,000, you're getting a lot here, technologically speaking, but also no cloth seats for an EX or X-Line. You also have an SUV that feels cutting edge, looks cutting edge, and has a lot of interior space and practicality that is competitive to a Honda CR-V or Toyota RAV4. And when you throw all that into the mix together, the Kia Sportage makes a great case for itself in a very competitive and I would say oversaturated two-row compact crossover market. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2026 Kia Sportage X-Line. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time.